Welcome back to Social Security Report. Alright, for decades, politicians and Wall Street have screamed that Social Security is going bankrupt, and they were wrong. Until now. Because in 2026, everything changed. We're not talking about the usual fear-mongering. We're talking about a genuine math problem that could cut your checks by 23% in just 84 months if nothing gets done. And with AI robots replacing workers who pay into the system, allegedly solving America's labor problems, we've got a ticking time bomb nobody's talking about. Let's fix that. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type "interested" in the comments. And I will give you a heart. Now, if you're new to this channel, you've probably heard me or someone else say, Social Security is going bankrupt, 1,000 times. Except I've never said that. Not once. Go back through every single one of the over 2,000 videos I've made in the last few years, you won't find it. Because that statement, that Social Security is going bankrupt, has been 100% incorrect. The system itself isn't going bankrupt. What's happening is something entirely different, and understanding the difference could mean the difference between keeping your full check and losing nearly a quarter of it. Here's what's actually going on. Your Social Security check comes from two places. Two distinct sources. And this is where everyone gets confused, because politicians and the media love to blur the lines and make it sound like the whole thing is collapsing. It's not. About 91% of your monthly Social Security check, and these numbers are from the last official report, so they're probably closer to 87% now, but we'll use 91% for now since the 2025 numbers won't be out until March. That 91% comes from people currently working and paying FICA taxes. Your kids. Your grandkids. The person bagging groceries. The teacher down the street. Every single person with a job is paying 6.2% of their paycheck into Social Security, and their employer is matching that with another 6.2%. That money isn't going into some account with their name on it. It's going straight out the door to pay your check this month. That's how the system has always worked. It's a pay-as-you-go system, and that 91% is rock solid. It's not going anywhere as long as people keep working. The other 9%, and again, it's probably higher now, maybe 10, 11, 12%, that comes from the Social Security Trust Fund. And this is the part that's being depleted. This is what everyone should be worried about. The trust fund was set up back in the 1980s under the Reagan administration. They raised the retirement age, made some changes, and created this reserve fund because they knew the baby boomers were coming. Over 70 million people born between 1946 and 1964, all paying into the system for decades. And for years, more money was coming in than going out. So that extra money got stashed in the trust fund. It built up to over $2.6 trillion by the beginning of 2024. But now those baby boomers are retiring. Over 10,000 people every single day. And they're taking money out of that trust fund because it's their money. They paid into it. They have every right to it. So here's the math that should keep you up at night. Every year, the trust fund shrinks. In 2024, they pulled out $103 billion. By the end of the year, the reserve dropped to $2.5 trillion. This year, it'll probably drop to $2.3 trillion. Next year, maybe $2.1 trillion. And if nothing changes, if Congress does absolutely nothing, which is what they've done for the last 40 years, you've got 84 more checks at 100%. 84 months. 7 years. And then on your 85th check, if nothing is done, your benefit gets cut by 23%. Not because Social Security is bankrupt. Not because the money disappeared. But because that trust fund will be empty, and the only money coming in will be from current workers. And current workers can only cover about 77% of what's been promised. Now, politicians love to lie about this. They love to scare you. They'll tell you the money's been stolen, given to immigrants, sent to Ukraine, wasted on some program they don't like. It's all garbage. It's misdirection. It's divide and conquer. They want you yelling at each other, blaming the left, blaming the right, so you don't look up and ask them what they're doing to fix it. And the answer, for 40 years, has been nothing. Some had ideas: raise the retirement age again, lift the cap on FICA taxes so the wealthy pay their fair share, maybe even hand the whole thing over to Wall Street so their buddies can rake in commissions and, allegedly, kick some of that back to the politicians who made it happen. But nothing actually got done. 40 years of failure. And now we're staring down the barrel of a 23% cut in 84 months. But here's where it gets worse. And this is the part that changed everything in 2026. That 91% I mentioned, the part that comes from current workers, that's based on people having jobs. People earning paychecks. People paying FICA taxes. And right now, we're watching that workforce get gutted in a way we've never seen before. You've probably seen the headlines. Amazon just cut 20,000 positions. Microsoft, same thing. Same month. Same week, Elon Musk announced Tesla is stopping production on two of their car models, the Model S and the Model X, the one with those fancy falcon wing doors. And what's he doing with that factory in Fremont, California? He's building robots. 1 million of them, allegedly. 1 million robots to do the work that 1 million people used to do. And here's the kicker: robots don't pay FICA taxes. You might be thinking, well, the rich people who own the robots, they'll pay taxes, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. You and I, we pay FICA taxes on every dollar we earn. If you make $50,000, you pay 6.2% on all $50,000. If you make $100,000, same thing. But if you make $1 million? 5 million? 100 billion? You only pay FICA taxes on the first $176,100. That's the cap. After that, not a dime goes to Social Security. So Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these billionaires replacing workers with robots, they're not paying into the system to make up for the lost jobs. They're paying the same amount they always did, and now hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, of workers who were paying in every month are gone. No job, no FICA taxes. No FICA taxes, no money going into that 91%. And before you say, well, what about immigrants? Aren't they taking jobs too? Yes, some are. But here's what nobody tells you. Even undocumented immigrants pay into Social Security. Studies show that between $20 billion and $30 billion every year comes from people working with fake Social Security numbers or temporary IRS numbers, paying FICA taxes, and they will never, ever see that money again. They can't collect retirement benefits. They can't collect disability. They can't get survivor benefits. They paid in, and it's gone. That money is actually propping up your check right now. But robots? They don't even do that. They just take the job and give nothing back. So we've spent decades worrying about jobs moving to China, to Vietnam, to Indonesia. We've spent years arguing about immigration and who's taking whose job. And the whole time, the real threat was being built in Silicon Valley. AI robots that can work 24 hours a day, never take a break, never ask for benefits, and, allegedly, perform at a PhD level. And President Trump just signed an executive order saying states can't regulate AI. It's the Wild West now. No guardrails. No plan for what happens when millions of jobs disappear and the FICA taxes that fund 91% of your Social Security check disappear with them. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. And if we don't do something, if we don't demand that Congress acts, that they put a tax on these robots, that they make companies pay into FICA when they replace human workers with machines, then that 91% is going to shrink just like the trust fund. And when that happens, we're not talking about an 23% cut anymore. We're talking about something much, much worse. So here's what you need to understand. Social Security isn't going bankrupt. But the money that funds it is under attack from two sides. The trust fund is running out because we've done nothing for 40 years. And the workforce that pays into the system is being replaced by robots that contribute nothing. You've got 84 checks left at full value if nothing changes. And every day that goes by without action is one day closer to that 85th check hitting your account at 77% of what you're owed. Knowledge is power. And right now, you've got the knowledge. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Now let's talk about what actually happens when that trust fund runs dry, because there's a lot of confusion out there and politicians are counting on you not understanding the details. They want you scared, but they don't want you informed. Because informed people ask hard questions. And hard questions lead to accountability. So let me break this down in plain English. When I say the trust fund is being depleted, I mean exactly that. At the beginning of 2024, there was $2.6 trillion sitting in reserves. The Social Security Administration collected FICA taxes from workers, paid out $1.3 trillion in benefits, spent about $4.9 billion on administrative expenses, and yes, you should appreciate how low that number is, because if Wall Street got their hands on Social Security, that $4.9 billion would probably go straight into the pocket of whatever politically connected person they put in charge, allegedly, and after all that, they had to pull $103 billion out of the trust fund to make up the difference. So by the end of 2024, the reserves dropped to $2.5 trillion. This year, when the 2025 numbers come out, we're probably looking at $2.3 trillion. Maybe $2.2 trillion. The exact number doesn't matter as much as the trend. It's going down. Every single year. And it's going down faster. Here's the part that should concern you. That 9% of your check that comes from the trust fund? It's growing. This year it's probably 10 or 11%, maybe 12%. Next year, 13 or 14%. The year after that, 15 or 16%. Because even though FICA taxes are still coming in from current workers, there aren't enough workers paying in to cover what's going out to retirees. The baby boomers paid into this system for decades when there were more workers than retirees. Now the ratio has flipped. There are more people collecting than paying in. And that gap has to come from somewhere. It comes from the trust fund. And when the trust fund is empty, that gap doesn't just disappear. It becomes a cut to your check. So what does that actually look like? Let's say you're getting $2,000 a month right now. When the trust fund runs out, if nothing is done, that check drops to about $1,540. You just lost $460 a month. That's $5,520 a year. For someone living on a fixed income, that's groceries. That's medication. That's the difference between keeping the heat on in winter and choosing between utilities and food. And here's the thing politicians won't tell you, it's not just your retirement benefit that gets cut. Survivor benefits, disability benefits, everything tied to Social Security gets hit with the same reduction. Because it all comes from the same pot. If you're a widow relying on your late spouse's benefit, you're looking at the same 23% cut. If you're on SSDI because you can't work anymore, same cut. It's across the board. Now, some of you are probably thinking, what about the COLA? What about the cost of living adjustment? Won't that help? And here's where I need you to pay very close attention, because this is one of those things people get wrong all the time. The COLA is automatic. It's been automatic since the early 1970s. Before that, Congress had to vote every year on whether to give seniors a raise, how much to give, when to give it. It was a mess. So they made it automatic and handed the calculation over to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The BLS buys a basket of goods in the third quarter of one year, buys the same basket in the third quarter of the next year, and measures the difference. If prices went up 2.5%, you get a 2.5% COLA. If they went up 5.8%, you get 5.8%. The president has nothing to do with it. So when people say, oh, this president gave us such a great COLA, no, he didn't. The BLS did the math, and inflation did the rest. But here's the problem. A COLA is a percentage increase on what you're already getting. So if your check gets cut by 23% when the trust fund runs out, and then you get a 3% COLA the next year, you're getting 3% of that reduced amount. You're not getting back what you lost. You're getting a tiny raise on a check that's already been slashed. Let me do the math for you. If your $2,000 check drops to $1,540, and then you get a 3% COLA, that's an extra $46.20. You're still down $413.80 from where you started. The COLA doesn't fix the cut. It just means your reduced check keeps pace with inflation. And frankly, with the current administration firing the person who ran the Bureau of Labor Statistics and putting in their own person, allegedly someone more aligned with their priorities, we might not even be getting accurate COLA numbers going forward. But that's a whole different problem. So let's talk solutions, because this isn't hopeless. There are things that could be done right now to fix this. The problem is that for 40 years, nobody's had the guts to actually do them. First, they could raise or eliminate the FICA tax cap. Right now, you only pay Social Security taxes on the first $176,100 you earn. Anything above that is tax-free as far as Social Security is concerned. Medicare doesn't have a cap. If you make $10 million, you pay Medicare taxes on all $10 million. The world didn't end. Karl Marx didn't rise from the grave and take over. It's just a fairer system. So why does Social Security have a cap? Because rich people don't want to pay more, and rich people have very good lobbyists. But if we smashed that cap, if everyone paid FICA taxes on every dollar they earned, just like they do for Medicare, the trust fund would be shored up overnight. Problem solved. But Congress won't do it, allegedly because too many of them benefit from that cap themselves. Second option, raise the retirement age. Again. They did it in the 1980s, and they could do it again. Push full retirement age to 68, 69, maybe 70. The logic is that people are living longer, so they should work longer. The problem is that not everyone lives longer. If you worked a desk job your whole life, sure, maybe you can work until 70. But if you spent 40 years on a construction site, in a factory, doing physical labor that destroyed your knees and your back, working until 70 isn't realistic. It's a solution that punishes the people who need Social Security the most. But it's on the table, and it's one of the ideas politicians love because it doesn't require them to ask rich people for more money. Third option, cut benefits. Just reduce what people get across the board. Maybe trim the formula so high earners get less. Maybe means test it so that if you have other income or assets, your Social Security gets reduced or eliminated. This one's popular with people who think Social Security is welfare. It's not. It's insurance. You paid into it your entire working life. It's your money. But there are absolutely people in Washington who would love to turn it into a welfare program they can cut whenever the budget gets tight. And once that door is open, once they establish the precedent that your benefit can be reduced based on your income or your assets, it's only a matter of time before the cuts get deeper and the thresholds get lower. Or, and here's the one that terrifies me, they could hand the whole thing over to Wall Street. Privatize it. Let people invest their Social Security taxes in the stock market. This idea comes up every few years, and it's always pushed by people who stand to make a fortune in management fees if it happens. They'll tell you that the market always goes up in the long run, that you'll get better returns, that you'll have control over your own money. What they won't tell you is what happens when the market crashes the year before you retire. What they won't tell you is how much of your money will get eaten up in fees. What they won't tell you is that the administrative costs of Social Security right now are under $5 billion a year to manage a program that pays out over $1 trillion. If Wall Street ran it, those administrative costs would explode. Because Wall Street doesn't do anything cheap. And allegedly, a lot of that money would end up in the pockets of whoever got the contract to manage it. Jared Kushner. Don Jr. Whoever's connected. That $4.9 billion in administrative expenses would become someone's personal payday. So those are the options. And for 40 years, Congress has chosen none of the above. They've kicked the can down the road, election after election, hoping it becomes someone else's problem. But it's not someone else's problem anymore. It's your problem. Right now. In 84 months, if nothing changes, your check gets cut. And every month that passes without action is 1 month closer to that cliff. Now here's where everything I've been talking about collides with the reality we're living in right now in 2026. And this is the part where I need you to really pay attention, because what's happening isn't theoretical anymore. It's not something we might face down the road. It's happening right now, and most people have no idea how bad this is about to get. Remember when I said 91% of your Social Security check comes from people currently working and paying FICA taxes? That entire system is built on one assumption, that there will always be enough workers paying in to cover the benefits going out. For decades, that assumption held true. Even when jobs moved overseas to China, Vietnam, Indonesia, there were still enough American workers to keep the system running. Even with immigration debates and people screaming about jobs being taken, the reality was that most immigrants, even undocumented ones, were actually paying into the system. They'd use temporary IRS numbers or even fake Social Security numbers, pay their FICA taxes, and never see a dime of it back because they couldn't prove legal status. That's $20 to $30 billion a year flowing into Social Security from people who will never collect. They were actually propping up your check. But now we've got something different. Something we've never dealt with before. We've got AI and robots replacing human workers at a scale and speed that should terrify anyone who depends on Social Security. And I'm not talking about some distant future. This is happening right now. Amazon just eliminated 20,000 positions. Microsoft, same story, same time frame. Elon Musk announced Tesla is stopping production on the Model S and Model X, and that Fremont factory is being retooled to build robots. Not cars. Robots. An estimated 1 million of them. And here's what nobody in Washington wants to talk about: those robots don't pay FICA taxes. They don't pay into Social Security. They don't pay into Medicare. They take jobs from human workers who are paying 6.2% of every paycheck into the system, and they contribute absolutely nothing in return. And before you say, well, the companies will pay more in taxes because they're more profitable, let me stop you right there. The rich don't pay FICA taxes the way you and I do. If you make $40,000 a year, you pay 6.2% on all $40,000. Your employer matches it with another 6.2%. But if you make $1 million, you only pay FICA taxes on the first $176,100. Everything above that is FICA tax-free. So when Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or any of these tech billionaires replace 1,000 workers with 1,000 robots, they're not suddenly paying more into Social Security. They're paying the same amount they always did on their own income, and now 1,000 paychecks that were generating FICA taxes every month are just gone. Vanished. And that 91% that's supposed to be rock solid? It starts shrinking. Think about what that means. We're already looking at the trust fund running out in 84 months. That's bad enough. But if the workforce shrinks because millions of jobs get automated away, that 91% from current workers starts dropping too. Maybe it goes to 85%. Then 80%. Then 75%. And suddenly we're not talking about a 23% cut when the trust fund runs out. We're talking about cuts that could be 30%, 40%, maybe even 50% if this keeps going unchecked. Because the entire system is designed around people working and paying in. Take away the workers, and the whole thing collapses. And here's the kicker: President Trump just signed an executive order saying states can't regulate AI. It's the Wild West now. No rules. No guardrails. Companies can automate whatever they want, replace whoever they want, and there's no requirement that they contribute anything to make up for the lost tax revenue. Allegedly, this is all about innovation and keeping America competitive. But nobody's asking the hard question: competitive for who? Because it's sure not competitive for the 70 million Americans on Social Security who are about to watch their income drop because the tax base that funds their checks is being systematically dismantled. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds like fear-mongering. This sounds like the same garbage politicians have been saying for decades. And I get it. I've told you 1,000 times that Social Security isn't going bankrupt, and I stand by that. The system itself is sound. But a sound system still needs fuel. And the fuel is FICA taxes from workers. You can have the best car in the world, but if you drain the gas tank and don't refill it, that car isn't going anywhere. That's what's happening here. We're draining the tank with the trust fund running out, and instead of refilling it, we're replacing the workers who were paying in with robots that contribute nothing. So what do we do? Because I'm not just here to scare you. I'm here to make sure you understand what's happening so you can protect yourself and demand action. First, you need to reach out to your representatives in Congress. Not just once. Constantly. Ask them what they're doing to shore up the trust fund. Ask them what their plan is for when AI eliminates millions of jobs and FICA tax revenue drops. Ask them if they support putting a tax on automation, making companies pay into Social Security when they replace human workers with robots. Because that's a real solution. If a robot is doing the job a human used to do, the company should pay the equivalent of that human's FICA taxes into the system. It's not complicated. It's fair. And it would solve the problem. But it requires politicians to stand up to the tech billionaires who fund their campaigns, and allegedly, that's asking a lot. Second, you need to understand that this isn't a left versus right issue. This is an up versus down issue. Politicians love to divide us. They want you blaming immigrants, or blaming the other party, or blaming whoever they point at so you don't look up and ask them why they've done nothing for 40 years. Don't fall for it. The person taking your job isn't someone who crossed the border looking for work. It's a robot built in a factory that pays nothing into the system you depend on. And the people pushing for more automation without any plan to replace the lost tax revenue? They're the same people who've been saying Social Security is going bankrupt for decades while doing absolutely nothing to fix it. Third, stay informed. The 2025 trust fund numbers are coming out in March. When they do, pay attention. See how much the reserves dropped. See how much longer we have before that 85th check hits at 77%. Because every year that goes by without action, that timeline gets shorter. And the closer we get to the cliff, the harder it is to fix. Right now, we've got options. We can raise the FICA cap. We can tax automation. We can adjust the formulas. But if we wait until the trust fund is empty and millions of jobs have been automated away, our options get a lot worse. At that point, we're talking about massive cuts, means testing, raising the retirement age to 70 or 75, or handing the whole thing over to Wall Street and hoping the market doesn't crash the year before you retire. And let me be very clear about something. I'm not anti-technology. I'm not saying we should ban robots or stop progress. Progress is fine. Innovation is great. But progress without planning is chaos. And right now, we're charging full speed into an automated future with no plan for what happens to the 70 million Americans who depend on a system funded by workers who are being replaced. That's not progress. That's negligence. And the people who will pay the price aren't the tech billionaires or the politicians. It's you. It's the person watching this video who worked 40 years, paid into Social Security every single paycheck, and is now being told that the check you were promised might get cut by a quarter, or more, because nobody wanted to deal with this problem when they had the chance. So here's where we are. The trust fund is running out. You've got 84 months, maybe less when the new numbers come out. The workforce that funds 91% of your check is being replaced by automation that contributes nothing. And the people in charge just signed an order saying states can't even try to regulate it. This is real. This is happening. And if we don't do something right now, that 23% cut is just the beginning. Knowledge is power. You've got the knowledge now. The question is, are you going to use it? Are you going to reach out to your representatives and demand they act? Are you going to share this with people who need to know? Are you going to stay informed and keep the pressure on? Because that's the only way this gets fixed. Not by hoping. Not by trusting politicians who've failed us for 40 years. But by staying engaged, staying loud, and refusing to let them kick this can down the road one more time. I'll keep bringing you updates as the numbers come out, as policies change, as this situation develops. That's why I'm here. That's why this channel exists. Because somebody needs to cut through the noise and give you the straight truth about what's happening to your benefits. So if you're not already subscribed, do that now. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next update. Because this story isn't over. It's just getting started. And the decisions that get made in the next few months, the next year, are going to determine whether your Social Security check is there at full value when you need it, or whether it gets slashed because we waited too long to act. Drop a comment and let me know, are you worried about automation affecting Social Security? Have you reached out to your representatives? What do you think the solution should be? I read every comment, and your voice matters. Share this video with anyone who needs to understand what's really happening. Because the more people who know, the harder it is for politicians to ignore this. All right. That's it for today. Stay informed. Stay engaged. And I'll see you in the next one.